Welcome back to Open Line. We're talking about the American fire culture, changing how we view fire safety and even fire deaths. Society needs to change how it thinks and feels about fire death. We have with us Dr. Burton Clark, and he's written this book, I Can't Save You, But I'll Die Trying. Several people want to chime in here. Let's go to Bob. Hello, Bob. Bob, are you there?
I am.
Go right ahead. Yes, what's on your mind?
Well, number one, I want to thank Dr. Clark for coming on tonight. So, I guess, can you hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Well, and he sort of got on at that last segment about, the building material. Listen, okay. Two things you need to know, okay? I'm volunteer firefighter, and I also work in construction. That's my living, construction work. Okay, so I know that all this engineered lumber that we use nowadays, it does not hold up to fire the way old-fashioned stick framing lumber used to be. And I don't know that we can get those manufacturers to understand that problem or not, but I think that's something that needs to be addressed.
All right, that's a good point. Thank you. Let's talk about that.
Bob, you're exactly right. Let me thank you for your service, serving your community as a volunteer firefighter. That is a noble calling, and I appreciate that. And the fact that you're a builder, you are so important to us in the fire service, because we have to work in the buildings that builders build. And you're exactly right. Over time, dimensional lumber has become lighter and lighter and lighter. And when you take mass away, when a fire attacks it, it collapses so much quicker. And because a lot of it is glued together, the glue makes it burn more. So today, in homes, you have 3 minutes. Once a fire starts, 3 minutes to get out of the house, and you can have collapse within less than 10 minutes. So by the time the firefighters get there, they walk in the front door and they're falling through the floor. So that's definitely a problem. And you're exactly right, Bob. It's all about saving money, because the materials are lighter, they're easier to put up, they're less expensive. But when you take mass away, it becomes a real challenge. And now, Bob, you probably do residential, but now they're talking about building 10 and 18-story high-rise buildings out of lumber. All the codes say it meets the codes, but it scares me when you start building 18-story buildings out of lumber, even if you do sprinkle it. That wood burns. I don't know how else to put it. I'm not an engineer, and I don't pretend to be. But so you're exactly right. The built environment is a challenge, and the designers that make those kind of things are always ahead of where we can respond to. So they're always creating a hazard that then we have to solve when we get there. And we're always playing catch up that way. So thank you for your service, Bob, and help your brother and sister firefighters know about the buildings that you're building and the construction problems that they create.
Is that something that needs to be addressed, just the materials being used today to build?
Well, again, fire is a piece of that. We can't do away with our advances in society. We can build things, people can have houses, so that's not going to change. But we used to have 15 minutes to get out of a house when a house still caught fire. Now you've got 3 minutes. So people need to understand that dynamic. So I actually think today, people live in homes and people that have to respond to fires, the built environment is more hazardous today because of the construction, because of the materials that interior finishes are made out of, mostly plastics today. They put off highly toxic kind of things. The fact that the building is all buttoned up to save energy. We want to save energy, that's all good. But by the fact it's all buttoned up, that doesn't let the fire, that complicates the fire problem. Just look at this. Think of solar panels on roofs. That's a great idea. But for a firefighter, it's an added danger. because it's hard to turn off the energy to them. And how do you vent the roof if you have to? So anytime there's a technological advancement, fire is usually the last thing that people think about, and that's to our detriment and the safety of society's detriment.
Oh, go ahead. Lucy. Hello, Lucy.
Hey, y'all.
Good to hear from you, Lucy. What's on your mind?
Well, this whole fire thing, you know, I've probably done residential work in every corner of Nashville 40, 45 years ago in the surrounding counties. And a lot of the houses that we had here were built with yellow pine. The pine that they're using now is that real lightweight, I call it toothpick pine, that white pine. And it's like paper when it burns. But what concerns me is how close they're building these tall and skinny buildings.
You got it.
I'm like, how can you get a ladder up there if you're fighting a fire or trying to get somebody out the side window of one of these houses? But I think it's getting more dangerous. A man told me about 20 years ago there was an apartment complex out in the Hermitage area behind the Kroger's near I-40 there on Old Hickory Boulevard, where they had changed the codes and allowed them to do the floor joist more than 12 inches apart or something, the gap. And when that thing caught on fire, the man said it was hell on earth because that building just started collapsing. It was closed for years. They were supposed to go back and restructure it. But I've heard that they're changing the codes in Metro here to let them space those joists some more. And one last thing, when I was little, we had a safety program, and at school we watched films, and I remember about this film about the guy was going to bed. Right before he went to bed, he accidentally knocked off his cigarette flame, and it smoldered overnight. And I was real conscious about it. To me, the best thing that's ever happened that probably saved my life about 4 years ago when my furnace caught on fire was the fact that they made smoke detectors, and the ones with photo cells. You will not catch me without smoke detectors, carbon monoxide detectors, and the ones with photo cells. So I feel sorry for the firefighters. I remember the Fairgrounds fire and how hellacious that was, and that was mainly oak from the 1890s. But it was hard on a lot of those firefighters in that big wooden structure. So thank you for doing this show, and thank you for doing what you did for years too, sir.
Yeah, thank you, Lucy. Thanks a lot. Yeah, she brings up a few good points. Here in Nashville, we're seeing a lot of homes built close together. Now, there's a code, and most of the time that code is met. There are a few examples where it wasn't, and they've made some changes. But does that concern you as a firefighter when you see so many of these tall, skinny houses so close together?
Anytime you make things lighter or make things closer together, the potential for increasing the potential fire danger and fire loss increases dramatically. Back in Ben Franklin days, the buildings were made out of bricks. Now they're made out of plastic. So even when one building starts, the whole row can start. And if closer you are, that increases that problem. And then we want to put more units on the lot, so we narrow the streets and the fire trucks can't get in there to be able to protect and what we refer to as surround and drown, but at least contain the fire to a building or a block. So if we continue on the way we're doing, many cities could be open to the thing that happened out in Paradise, California, where you have a real conflagration. Because once the fire gets to be such that it's throwing brands ahead of the fire, whether it starts in a forest or starts in a massive, tightly, high-density place, you're increasing the potential of a conflagration. So that's why we need to think about fire when we do these kind of things. And if we only go for the minimal, Mother Nature will always throw the maximum at us. and we will suffer as a result of it. And I think I can understand that economic thinking, but in the long run, it doesn't serve well. It does not serve well.
Right. And you're seeing this all over the country.
Yes.
Right? It's not just Nashville.
No.
That's why you've written this book. You're traveling all over. It's something that we're seeing all over the country. What else do you think about some of the things Lucy said? She talked about the safety program. I wrote down photo cells.
Yep.
What are some of the other
Well, she's exactly right. There's still today on the market, there's photoelectric smoke detectors and there are ionization smoke detectors. I can't say one's better than the other. I have to say yes. As long as you've got smoke detectors, you're better off than not having smoke detectors. But she admitted that's what allowed her family to be notified of the fire and to get up and get out. But nowadays, you need to have smoke detectors on every level of your home and outside of every sleeping area. And they somehow need to be interconnected, so when the one in the basement goes off, you can hear it in your bedroom. Then and we want you to close your bedroom door, so you need to put one in the bedroom. So it's no more just one or two smoke detectors. You need to have a design, a lot of smoke detectors, because the fire can spread so quickly. You need that time to get out of your house. So the closer the smoke detector is to where the fire starts, the quicker the smoke detector is going to go off. Ultimately, is if we are able to get everybody to have sprinkler ordinances for 1 and 2 family dwellings, that will make it even better, because now the smoke detector can alert you, but then the sprinkler head pops off and suppresses the fire before the fire department even gets there, and it holds it.
Now, we've done stories, I feel like, about the difference in smoke detectors.
Yes.
And I feel like one smoke detector is better than another. Do you feel that way? One is better at, and I don't.
Well, this is what they say. Technologically, the ionization smoke detector detects smaller particles of combustion, almost invisible. Whereas the photoelectric detector, the particle has to be large enough to reflect light. All right. So if you are broiling in the oven, and you have to open the door when you broil, all right? You don't see anything coming out, but if your smoke detector is too close to the kitchen, the chances are pretty good that your smoke detector may go off. And what's probably happening, the drippings from whatever you're broiling, they're the things that are burning. And they're putting off these invisible particles, a lot of them very quickly, and the smoke alarm goes off. A photoelectric detector wouldn't pick that up.
Right.
But say, for example, as Lucy said, her furnace backed up. So the furnace would have large particles moving slowly, reflect a lot of light. They'd probably be darker in color. So it may take more time for the ionization to go off as opposed to the photoelectric to go off. But the idea is, the research says that both of them will give you enough time, if you have enough smoke detectors, to be alerted to get out of the house before it becomes lethal, as long as you have enough smoke detectors. So I wouldn't not have a smoke detector just because I couldn't find a photoelectric. I'd have smoke detectors.
Right, no matter what, get a smoke detector.
No matter what, get a smoke detector.
But okay, that's interesting. I haven't heard it described just like that. One might be a little more sensitive, and maybe that's a better way.
It's sensitive in a different way.
Right. That's interesting.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to take a break. If you want to call in, there's the number 615-737-PLUS, 615-737-7587. Take a break. Be back right after this.